Going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time discussion. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm sitting here with Cameron Selby, and we're going to be attacking the safety position today. And I was talking to Cam about this before. Safety is one of my favorite positions, just like having a good player on my team. Safety is so important to me because I think they just do so much in the run game and in the pass game. But they are so annoying to almost like talk about in this state because they play box, they play free, they play nickel, they play everywhere. And so they're all different. And ranking them versus each other doesn't really necessarily help anything when a team might be like, we need a box safety. We're not picking a guy that plays free only. Like it doesn't make any sense for them. So I think that that's an interesting topic when we'll go through all the positions that they play and how we rank them based on that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I'd say let's jump right into it. This is one of the shortest positional videos that we'll do. It's the last one that is going to be released. If
yeah,
you've kept up with the series so far, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Join us on the draft process. We're
right.
less than 28 days away from day one, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. But let's get into this class. Starting off with some honorable mentions: Dante Trader Jr. out of Maryland, Jonas Sanker out of Virginia, and then Billy Bowman out of Oklahoma. Give me a little bit about each of these guys.
Well, we'll leave Billy Bowman for last because I think that that's the most polarizing name on the board, and
Okay.
I think it's also the player that will have the most. I have the most issues with, especially when he's top 50 on most boards. Dante Trader Jr. He's out of Maryland, 81.1 run grade this last year, 4.8% missed tackle rate. He played box and free, so he either played basically a extra linebacker, or he played it as a free safety on either cover two or cover one style defense. Excuse me. He gave up a 73.91 completion percent, which I thought was, that's not very good. But if you do play box a lot, you get shorter routes at you. So that's kind of the thing. So you have to be you have to really think about that type of stuff when you're looking at these guys. He is a lacrosse player for Maryland. He is a starting lacrosse player for them, which I think is cool. So he's a dual athlete. Thought that was fun. He has athletic upside playing the multiple sports because of it too. He's a competitor. I thought his tackling was an absolute plus. I loved watching him tackle. Quick twitch athleticism, alignment versatility, 281 snaps in the box, 209 deep. Not a nickel player, but he played those two spots a lot. Only 23 targets against him this season, which is tied for second lowest targets. Gonna play deep coverage style role. It's gonna allow him to use his instincts and play cover three. He's a run stopper though. I really liked him in the run stopping. Some of his cons: his coverage grade was a 60.4. He also had the lowest completion rate percentage. Below average length. He's not very fast. So I think that was something, but I just don't think he can play man. I think he just has to play zone, and that's okay because he's good at it, so it's fine. Excuse me. I have something in my throat. And then the next guy is Jonas Sanker out of Virginia. He played the box, he played free, and he played nickel. So he played all three. He was all over the place. Yeah. He might be best as a box safety just for his style. He's a quick trigger. He's really solid tackler in space. Plays the alley really well. His instincts are his instincts is his best trait. So I thought that was good. He's very productive. Very, very productive. He had over 200 tackles this year. He had 13 tackles for loss in the last 2 years. He had 3 forced fumbles in 2023, 2 sacks this year, and an interception. So he's just basically the extra run defender. Great for teams that read tight ends. But I think he's very scheme specific. Like you need to think about, hey, this guy, if we draft him, is going to play either nickel or in the box. He's never going to play deep. That's not really what he's good at. Not great in deep coverage. He doesn't have the long speed. And I think that his change of direction is an issue. So what is he going to do? Where is he going to play is kind of like how you looked at him. But I think he's a really good competitor, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And now,
here we go.
Billy Bowman. Look, it's not that I dislike Billy Bowman. It's that he's being way over, like, he's being pushed way up boards. And I'm just not there. He had 20. This is my problem. He played free, box, and nickel. So he played them all. Free was his most played spot. He had 23.1% missed tackle rate. And I have Did I write them all down? Yes, I did. In 2024, he had a 23.1% missed tackle rate, a 26.8 in 2023, and a 25.9 in 2022. He has never gotten better at tackling. He's
Well,
never gotten better.
5%.
No, no, no,
Well,
no.
no.
No, 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 no. So that's my biggest problem with him. You are a safety. You're an extra linebacker basically on a lot of plays. And if you're gonna miss that many tackles, I cannot put you on the field. I do not care. I do not care how good you are, how good you think you are. You're not that good if you can't tackle. He had 8 interceptions in the last 2 years. I love that. That's good. I think he's a really good ball hawk. His playmaking and ball skills are awesome. But what am I supposed to do? 23.1. You should go watch that Texas game. That was so bad. I don't even know what to say. Like, Wisner made him look like a child. Like, he drug him multiple plays. And it was like Billy didn't even try to tackle him on plays. And I'm like, then I go watch certain plays, and this man is diving and like going crazy. And I'm like, you didn't want to do that when you're getting your shit kicked in? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I just can't get behind it. So that's my biggest problem with him. I will love the comments on this because I know everybody's a Billy Bowman fan. But if you cannot tackle, I will not want you on my team. That is just how it is. Tackling is so important to me.
Right. Yeah, and like you said, he's more so the ball hawk, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily a do it all kind of guy. He had the lowest run grade of all the guys we'll be talking about. Missed tackle rate is 8% worse than the next worst guy.
I know.
So it's not even close. But that said, Dante Trader Jr., who we have on the same list, 4.8. That is basically the best among everybody that we're going to be talking about. So a lot of interesting names, but Billy is certainly one that we are much lower on the field compared to what everybody else is really viewing him as, closer to the top 5 among this position group.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, there's the top 5 is really good. So we'll get into it. We'll do 7 first.
Yeah. So number 7, Latham Ransom. What a name for Ohio State. 23 years old will be to start the season. Third team AP All-American on a pretty talented defense. Give us a little bit about him.
93.5 run grade is a good start. He's going to be your deep/box player, kind of like how we talked about earlier with Dante Trader. With Dante Trader. When he is in the box, which he's in the box a lot, he is a good tackler. He actually had one of the lower missed tackle rates, but I thought a lot of those came because he did play more snaps at deep. He missed more tackles in open field. When he's attacking the line of scrimmage, though, from the box, I thought he looked a lot better. It's not the same. We just talked about Billy Bowman. It's not the same. Billy Bowman is scared to tackle. That is a different thing than a guy that is missing tackles and throwing his body in there and going for it. Latham Ransom, you watch his film and you're like, wow, that guy is going after it. And that's what Ohio State does. So I'm not surprised by one bit. He's one of the older guys. He's a high football IQ player. He was surrounded by good players, and he still showed out. One of the best at playing the run in this class, just trigger, physical, big hitter, diagnoses plays quickly, and takes great angles. Now, like I said, he has a high missed tackle rate, so it's still not good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not happy with it. I just, I want better. But I think he is a guy that I'm willing to get behind because I think he competes at a very high level. Alignment versatility, I think he should be a box player most of the time, but I think he has the capabilities to play cover 2 because he's an athletic enough to do it. So I thought that was good. He's a sideline to sideline speed type of guy. I don't know if he ran. I don't know if you probably have it there, but I don't remember if he ran off the top of my head.
I don't have that in front of me now.
Okay. Has urgent punches the ball to create turnovers. He was good at that, and just scheme versatile. Like, I think he can do a lot. Multiple injuries throughout his career kind of derailed him, though, and his age kind of comes with that. And my biggest thing with his tackling is he doesn't wrap up. He just body. I'm like, all right, cool. So
he actually did run.
Okay.
4.53.
Okay.
36.5 vert, 20 bench reps. So just kind of very strong.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, solid. Yeah, that's my take on him, though.
Yeah, like you said, run grade, that's all what he's about. Highest in the nation, run grade at 93.7. Like you mentioned, pass rush grade is also pretty elite as well. He was 87. which was, among the best in the class. Yeah, it does a lot of good things well. TFL's, like you said, doubled basically his first 4 years this past year. Just did a lot of things well, surrounded by good players. So if you stand out among other good players, that just kind of shows how highly regarded you are as a football player.
Oh yeah. And I think he's a pretty easy sell. Play him in the box, play him up by the line of scrimmage, make him go make plays, and he will. If you put him in deep coverage, like you're a little bit, you should be a little bit more worried. That's kind of my thoughts. The next guy is
Malachi Moore.
He's a lot lower on people's boards, and I'm going to tell everybody the stats, and y'all can see them obviously on the board. But I'm going to tell everybody the stats, and we're going to talk through them. But I'm kind of surprised he's lower if you just look at the stats and then you go to the film and you're like, hey, this guy's like willing to hit and like do those things. So let me start there with the stats. He played the free, the box, and the nickel. He played 350 snaps at free and the deep, 219 in the box and 180 in the slot. He's best in deep coverage. That's his bread and butter. He had a 89.4 coverage grade, a 6.8 missed tackle rate, which is awesome. A 43.33% completion percent. That's awesome too. So he did a lot of good things. Built to cover. That's what I think. I think he's built to cover. He's ball hawk, deep coverage, attacks the ball in the air, looks for the work, in zone, tracking ability. Just feels like a high IQ player when it's in coverage. Tackling from depth. Like when you play this many snaps from depth, you're gonna have to tackle, run in the alley, coming downhill, and in space. And 6.8% missed tackle rate is awesome. Not gonna deliver the boom, but it's not always about getting. It's all about getting the player on the ground. And if you're the last line of defense, you do not have to deliver the boom. It's all about making like the guy go out of bounds or getting him to the play to stop. That is so much more important to me than just like knocking somebody out because you're a safety and you're supposed to. So I thought that was good. His average tackle depth was 10.9 yards, which might be one of the highest in the whole class. And I thought that tells you a lot about what kind of player he was. I just wish he was more productive. I wish, he doesn't have the physicality of safety, which is fine. But that is a con still. And getting blocked, he's not very good when he gets blocked. I mean, he lets people block him sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of an interesting career. I mean, 64 starts.
Yeah.
In his career, true freshman during their national championship season in 2020 feels like an eternity ago. But he was one of their best defensive players. Had 4 takeaways, 4 TFLs that year. Graded really well, and he was second team all SEC as a true freshman, and then had kind of nothing. But then resurged a little bit this year to become first team all SEC once again. So does a lot of things well, but just kind of was like, what kind of happened?
Nick Saban didn't like him because it's a new coaching staff, right? I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm not obviously in the year, but that could be it. Nick Saban was like, hey, we want to go a different way. Mm-hmm. And you're just going to be a guy that is helpful on third down or on the bench when we need you. That could be something, but I don't know.
Yeah, but like you said, a lot of experience, a lot of starts, and does a lot of things well. So, just kind of feels like he should be a little higher regarded, but he's just kind of not at the very moment.
He's like ranked 200th on PFF's big board.
Yeah,
I'm like, hey, like I get it, I get some of it, but like he's not a less than a 150 player, no matter how you look at it, in my opinion. So that's kind of where I'm at with him.
Right.
Oh, no, I need this, not the other thing.
Yeah, so we'll jump into our top 5 with Andrew Makuba. 1 year in Texas after 3 in Clemson, was just kind of pretty solid but okay. But really, really made a name for himself with Texas this year. They were one of the best secondaries in the country, and he led the way and made a ton of big plays in the postseason, especially to have a very stellar year. He's just kind of right in the middle of this class for a lot of people, but that doesn't it shouldn't take away from how really solid he is as a prospect.
Well, I think big thing with him, he was surrounded, like you said, by good players, and he was the best coverage player they had. I say that, and then I'm like, well, Jade, but he was like, Makuba was definitely one of the best coverage players in the country in general. 0 touchdowns allowed, 4 interceptions. That's 5 interceptions. I apologize. This year, 89.7 coverage grade, like just on top of it. He had a 43.48 completion percentage. I mean, 12.1 passer rating allowed. 12.1.
12.
That's crazy. And he only had 23 targets thrown his way in 16 games. So it's just, he did so well as a deep coverage guy that he has to be on this list, in my opinion. In 2023, he played 158 deep snaps, 90 in the box, and 315 at nickel. And then Texas obviously changed everything they did with putting Jade at outside. Makuba went 508 in the deep part of the field. So that's important. That's really important to see. I think that's where he fits best, and I'm glad they put him there. Anything coverage, he's above everybody in all stats except for maybe the number 2 guy, next guy on the list when it comes to interceptions. 6 forced incompletions, 10 receptions out of 23. Like, he gave up 10 receptions in 16 games. So I just think, and I love his tackling, like willingness to tackle. Maybe not his overall tackling. I mean, he's still only 180 pounds and he feels it, But like that game, was that Arizona State where he made that tackle?
No, Georgia.
Georgia
Yeah,
on like the
on the back of
3-yard line. Yeah, that's
the viral
awesome.
like,
Yes, and I was like,
yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. And I didn't even know anything about him at that point. I was just like, wow, I love that physicality.
No, I mean,
So
he was a guy that just kind of always did well and made plays, but
Mhm.
didn't really like, oh, this is the guy. But in the playoff, he was arguably their best, defensive back of,
Mhm.
many that had 2 All-Americans in it, with Michael Taff and Jade. But yeah, big plays, lays wood, game clinching interception
Mhm.
against Arizona State, so really showed up when it mattered. Like I said, 90.0 grade this year, was 3rd best among all safeties this year. Coverage grade was awesome. Run defense right there. Pass rush even is really solid. So yeah, he's kind of do it all kind of player that really it's just really banking off one true great season.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like that's more than a lot of people can say.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason he's this low is, and also just like because the other guys on this list are really good. Like the next 4 are really, really good. But I think that Andrew Makuba also just is very good at football. He just isn't. He has a lot of things, more question marks, I guess, than the guys ahead of him. And we'll get into the next guy who is there. There's so many All-Americans on this list in front of Makuba that it's like it is what it is. Like I'm sorry, you couldn't make it into the top 4 because the guys ahead of you were just been really good for so long.
Yeah, and if you're talking about the guy that just is most productive of this upcoming list, Xavier Watts.
Yes.
Led everybody in interceptions 2 straight years, 7 in 2023, and then 6 in 2024. 5-year player from Notre Dame, actually played wide receiver, then he went to linebacker, and then he went to safety. And then, so naturally, he's just already an amazing ball hawk in itself. But he was a Bronco Nagurski Award winner in 2023, and then backed it up and was one of the best defensive players on a national championship runner-up this year.
Yeah, I think that Xavier Watts is going to be everybody's favorite day 2 guy. Like, they're going to be like, where's Tate Rutledge and where's Xavier Watts? Because we know those guys are good at football. We don't have to guess. Like, we know that they have done these things multiple times. Xavier Watts kind of, 89.5 coverage grade. Like you said, the 6 interceptions this year, only behind Noel Williams, who plays cornerback. Xavier Watts was the most productive safety for sure. Physical. He's a physical guy. Tackles really well against the run. Quick to trigger. Tracks the ball well in the air. Tracks the ball well when he's going through traffic and stuff like that to go make a tackle. He's one of the highest IQ players I think we have on this list. Like he's so intelligent, and that route recognition. Like he just knows what's coming on every play. It's ridiculous. He's got a great motor, but his cons are his athleticism, truly. Like he's not a super flexible guy. He's not a very long speed isn't one of his things that he's good at. Acceleration isn't necessarily one of those things he's good at. So the athleticism is an issue, and then his age overall versus some of these other guys that we're going to talk about. That's the biggest problems with him. But you just want a floor player, an intelligent floor player that's going to make your team better day 1. Xavier Watts is your guy on day 2. Like it is what it is. Like he is that guy. So
Yeah, like you said, and hit the nail on the head. He'll be one of the favorite picks we'll talk about on day 2.
Yeah.
Some point in the second round. No idea who's going to take the chance, but we've seen a good track record of second round safeties that just people don't want to, push up into round 1 that
Yeah.
just fall to them, and it just really works out time and time again. So, really a lot of upside with Xavier, and it's crazy to put him at 4 because he is so talented and so good. But that's just
That's his
the
class.
tail of the tape with this class.
Yeah, for sure. Let me go to the next one. Here you are. There we go. There it goes. All right. Kevin Winston Jr. There's a big number on that board, guys, that I want everybody to really focus on, and I've told y'all. I'm big on it. 0.0 missed tackle rate. This is 2023 stats because of the fact that he got injured in the first game and then tried to play the second game, re-injured it, and he was out for the rest of the year. So it is what it is. But his 2023 tape, I literally, and I've told you this, and we talked about this on the show in May last year, where I'm like, Kevin Winston's possibly my favorite safety. I think he was considered the number 2 safety at that point, so it was really hard to be like, you're the dark horse. But like, he is the dark horse, especially if with this injury. Injury was a 2024 partial ACL tear, but he was an absolute stud in 2023. He had a 90.6 run grade and an 86.8 coverage grade. 0% missed tackle rate. 50% of his the passes coming his way were completed on 20 total targets. So 10 total passes were completed against him. He had 2 touchdowns given up and 1 interception. That is one of the biggest things with him, is I just wish we had more production on ball in the air. But truly, at his size, which he is a free safety and a box guy, he is so good at tackling that it's like, I don't know. My problem with him, right, is that I don't know what people are going to want to play him at, because he's so good at free, but he's also so good at the box. Like, it's one of those things where I'm just like, this guy's such a explosive athlete, and I wish he was healthy so that I could have put him higher on this list and made people even more uncomfortable about him and how good he really is, and make it like push him, because he was number 2 if you watched our big board video prior to the combine, but then number 2 did some ungodly things, and we just had to move him up. It is what it is.
Yeah, and it is worth noting, he didn't participate in the combine, but he ran a 40 at his pro day. And while pro day 40s have just been super controversial and all over the place, the fact that he ran it just kind of should show some optimism coming off a partial ACL tear just 6 months ago, that he's good to go, especially by training camp. So, he's a day 3 fringe guy that just shouldn't even be close to there. And we just want to emphasize that he's one of the biggest differentials between our big board and other big boards that you'll see, because he's just criminally too low.
He ran a sub 4.5. Like, on everybody's stopwatch, he at least was a 4.48. 4.43 was the slowest or the fastest, and 4.48 was the slowest. So 6 months after an injury, he ran a 4.43 to 4.48. Like, that's ridiculous. And he has some issues. Don't get me wrong. Like, doesn't always wrap up and just throws his body. Didn't matter, because guess what? They still went down. Over aggressive at times. I know that's not true. Please wrap up. That's not what I want. But it's just, he's just a little over aggressive at times. Like, he's just so good at football though, and he makes me so excited about, like, if he goes to certain teams, like I'm like, that is gonna be so awesome. So he just makes me excited to see, and I wish he could have played this year so we wouldn't be talking about him at 3, and he could have been higher on this list.
Yeah, and I mean, like PFF's updated big board, because they do some of the largest big boards. 84th.
Yeah,
is how.
So many people, they'll do mock drafts, like live mock drafts, and they're like, I don't know when I'm going to take him, but he has to be taken. And I'm like, well, just think about what you're saying for a second. Like, you're like, he's that good, but you're like, everybody's going to push him down. And it's like, somebody should take the shot.
You're just trying to gamble on, like, hey, he's a second round talent that will be there in the 3rd round, but maybe I could get him in the 4th. And it's just like, just stop playing games and just
take the best player on the board. Oh, he would have been a first rounder if he would have played the whole season. He would have been a first round talent if he would have played the whole season. I know safeties get pushed back because it's not a position of need or anything, but like he would have been a first round talent. He was almost a first round talent on our big board. So when he comes out next year and you're all surprised, don't be, because we just told you about it.
Right. But yeah, there's another guy that stole the show, Nick Manowari, out of South Carolina. Perfect RAS score.
Yep.
Awesome. Didn't allow a touchdown.
Yeah.
Did a lot of things well. First team All-American.
Is
there more that you can add to that?
He's more than willing, like capable as a player. I just get worried with him. And I've told you this in the past. I think his ceiling is more so like everybody wants to compare him to Kyle Hamilton, and he's not Kyle Hamilton. And we got to stop doing that, because this man does not deserve the Kyle Hamilton. First off, was so special as a player coming out that I don't think that it's fair to put Nick in that category, because when he comes out, he's not going to be that good. Like, it is what it is. And then also, like, he's not even the same typical style of player to me personally. Like, I think he's closer to, I think he should, and we talked about this before, but Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is the guy that I think of. Like, I want he's a higher end Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Jock and Nick Manowari. Like, I know that the athleticism and everything is different, but like, that's the comparison I see when I watch film, is those two guys. Really good in coverage, want to play them in the box. I mean, Nick did not play anywhere other than in the box. Let's be very honest. Like, he basically played free, like, I think it was like 12% or something. Not much. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things where I'm like, he's a box safety. Let him be a box safety. And like, the best box safety that played linebacker in college but is truly a box safety is Jock. And that's who I think he should be compared to. And I think he should kind of model his game after, because Jock's really good, first off. So please think about that. And then second off, like, you are most likely not going to play in deep coverage very often, like at the NFL level. I know you have the athleticism too, but there's issues you have playing back there that you don't have playing closer to the line of scrimmage, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and he's just one of the guys that is being insanely just jumped boosted up. There's a lot of people that put him at safety 1 overall, and it can't always be athleticism, but he did have production as well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he had two of his 3 seasons, he had at least 85 tackles. The other that he did not, he missed 2 games, but he still had 71, so he would have gotten there as well. Good in the pass game, good tackler, just does a lot of things well. But is he, a blue chipper like some are starting to fault him towards? I'm not so sure.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Because I think that the conversation is really interesting, but okay, how do I answer this question? It's almost a statement, and then I want you to see what you have to say about it. Okay. Comment after. I think he's closer to Isaiah Simmons.
That's my concern.
And that scares me, obviously, because Isaiah Simmons never panned out. He's never been used correctly, in my personal opinion, but he also these are NFL defensive coordinators, and they can't get him to do what they want him to do. So I think Nick is not that he's Isaiah Simmons. I think, though, if you try to play him in the wrong style or the wrong position, he will become something similar. And like I said, I think he's a Sam linebacker, an outside linebacker that plays in the box, possibly at nickel every once in a while. And that's what he's good at. And that's okay, because I love those guys. But let's just tone it back that, he's, Cam Chancellor or Kyle Hamilton. Because both of those guys have obviously excelled at their position. And Kyle Hamilton was so good coming out of college. Like, we're forgetting, I think, how good he was, really. Mm-hmm. We're just over.
I mean, you're completely correct in that. And then with Isaiah Simmons, like, he also had the production coming out. Like, he was the guy that we were raving about.
I thought he was going to be great.
Safety turn linebacker, and then he had 100 tackles and 7 pass deflections, and just do it all, and then just
what are you?
What, his 4th team in 5 years?
Yep.
That's one of the most puzzling, like, got it wrongs that I can remember. And it's not like I even fell for, or even we fell for, like, the hype of him, because we were already on board with how good he was. But just the fact that he just couldn't be figured out was very amazing to me. But Nick, at least, I don't know if he's used as a Swiss Army knife as much as
Mhm.
Isaiah was, because he also was a pass rusher. He had 7 sacks.
Yeah.
If you wanted to include that, so
Right.
he is more traditional safety, but hybrid, linebacker.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think
So
you should think of him more as like an uberly athletic linebacker rather than a deep cover safety. Because it just how many 6'3" deep cover safeties are there that have maybe some issues with hips, right? Like the true hip flexibility issues, and I think he has the possible range to be able to run sideline to sideline back there. But it's also like that's not his best position. You're putting him out of position for no reason to me. If you're going to draft him to play the right position and do well at it, instead of like trying to put him in some position that you're making up basically. And I think that they could do that to him for sure.
But yeah, so let's jump over to the guy that a lot of people in their eyes have passed. But Malachi Starks out of Georgia. A little bit of prospect fatigue.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that we kind of mentioned with Will Johnson in the cornerback video. If you guys wanted to check that out, yeah, he's been R1 for a long time, and it hasn't really changed in our eyes, even though he hasn't really done anything to stand out in this off season.
I remember watching Daniel Jeremiah's explanation of why he's falling or why he should be falling, and I'm like, so the explanation was basically he hasn't done anything exceptional. Like, he hasn't done enough, basically. And I was like, okay. He's a second-team All-American. Hasn't done anything exceptional, but he's just been good, and no one wants to test him. And I'm like, okay, so second-team All-American, 5-star coming out of high school, had a 85.6 run grade. Like, I don't see how that's a problem, I guess. Like, you talk about prospect fatigue. It's more like he didn't make any big plays that were just like, wow, plays. And it's like, okay, but he also didn't really make any plays that I was like, that was terrible. It was more so just him doing his job and everybody thinking that's not good enough. And I'm like, well, he plays for Georgia, first off, and they have 2 deep at their linebacker position that are both getting drafted. And they have, 7 players on their defense alone getting drafted. Like, he didn't have to go out of his way other than doing his job and making the right plays. So I was kind of like, I'm kind of pushed back on that whole thing, in that way. He's alignment versatile. He literally above average everywhere. Quick trigger against the run and screen game. Tackling is really solid. Athleticism. He had an 8.1 missed tackle rate. That's very important. Athleticism, attacks the ball in the air. He was at the combine, and we had this conversation because Nick ran fast and did all these things and jumped high and jumped far, whatever. During the drills, guess who was faster? The guy that didn't run the fastest 40, but the guy that's just a good football player and has good oily hips and can move and changes of direction well, and that's Malachi Starks. And I think we're overthinking it a little bit. Just a little bit. Just, come on. So that's my biggest thing with him is like we're just overthinking his overall ability.
Yeah, and again with him, it's kind of like 2-time All-American, 2-time first-team All-SEC, freshman All-American, true freshman on the national championship team.
Yeah.
Was a heavy contributor. Like, he just doesn't do any missteps. And like you said, maybe it's just not the oh wow plays.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's another one that I kind of consider is like one of the safest prospects. Just don't know how high he can go. I know safety is one that kind of gets dropped a little bit. But he's just one that's just like, hey, if he falls into the second round or late first round.
Jesus, please let us. Raiders.
I mean, we've seen that a lot recently, though. Like, Antoine Winfield, Xavier McKinney,
Tyler
Nubin, like top 15 caliber players in those classes that just nobody wants to pick.
Yeah.
And then they just fall into day 2 and just like, oh, immediate contributor right away. And I just kind of feel the same way with him.
So I wrote this down as one of I normally write like excerpts about these guys, right? So my thing was Malachi has some of the best film of any safety. Instincts and athleticism make him scheme versatile, and he is one of the best defensive chess pieces in this draft. Mm-hmm. I mean, like that is exactly how I feel. Like he can do it all. He's got great film. He's got instincts. He's got athleticism, and he actually outperforms his athleticism because he doesn't take bad steps.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what we're fighting. I get it. Nick ran and jumped and did all these fun things, and he was an All-American, and he had a great year. But if you want the best safety in the class, it's Malachi Starks to me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just how it just is what it is to me.
Right. But yeah, jumping between the years, our last between the years video being our last prospect rankings video. A lot of names in this class because last year's safety class left a lot to be desired. But yeah, Malachi, our guys up top. Tyler Newbin being two. I bet you if a lot of people did this kind of ranking, I think a lot of people would keep Emmanuel Worry
Yeah.
above him. So that's kind of interesting. But at the same time, we really like Tyler Newbin, and he,
did not disappoint.
Yeah, he did not.
So that was good.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. No, I can't even remember what his actual like overall was this last year, but I know
I think it was 33rd.
33rd for Tyler.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean,
47th. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
Even crazier.
But I know that now with all these other defensive backs that have gotten to, and the Giants getting better on defense, I think he'll even go up. Another thing we were talking about on the cornerback show is like where you go matters. And Tyler Newbin went to one of the worst situations for just a starting safety to have to walk into and have to deal with all the crap in the back end for the New York Giants. So I'm sure that his 39th will go up this next year, especially having a year under his belt. Mm-hmm. Nick, Kevin Winston, Xavier Watts. The next 2024 guy is Javon Bullard. He is a backup right now, but he is going to probably start at their nickel position or for the Green Bay Packers this next year. They got rid of one of their safeties, so he will be starting, I believe. So let me make sure I'm going to say that right. Or Cam can, real quick.
Go into the depth chart with
yeah, because I'm pretty sure he's the starting nickel. Yeah, he's the starting nickel for Green Bay. Okay. And then Tyke Smith, he's also going to play more this year, so that's good to see. Malachi Moore and Lathan Ransom going into 2025, and then 3 guys that we liked from the 2024 class rounding it out. Like I said, I love safety.
Yeah.
But they're a very tough position to rank because they play in the back end, they play as a linebacker, they play in the nickel, they do a little bit of everything in that triangle, and sometimes it's just difficult to get them all right.
Yeah, and I feel like Cameron Kinchins is like the epitome of like how hard it is to rank and get right because he was a guy that plummeted from last year's offseason, coming off a down year, and then just 4.740 and just not wowing in drills, and it's just like, oh, I don't know what to make of it, and then all of a sudden he's really good. So it's just kind of like one of those like just trust your kind of gut with it.
Film study is important, and I could have done better, I guess, on that guy. Just wasn't expecting him to be.
There were not many misses or very things that we were wrong about in last year's class. If you guys followed us all the way back when, but yeah, that was just kind of one that we did maybe overreact a little bit. But it's not like we were the only ones. Everybody plummeted him into the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds.
Yep. Let me stop sharing. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. If you would go like this video, comment something. Just talk about your team. If you really were like, we need a safety, I really like this guy. What do y'all think? We'll give you some background. He might not even be on the list. More than willing to talk about it. If you think we did a terrible job on this list and you think Xavier Watts should be number 1, we'll also talk about it. It's fine. I get it. Like I'm not gonna, we all have opinions, and at the end of the day, this is a really fun thing for us to do, and we want a community that also means disagreeing, and we're all good with that here.
Yeah, I don't care one bit if you disagree. If you just tell me why.
Yeah, give me a good reason.
We had a recent comment of just like we did an entire 2-hour mock draft, and he was like, this pick sucks. That's it. And it's like, okay, well, what would you do if you were the GM? Because we're not the only ones saying that. Nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like,
We're calling you out, whoever you are. Please go comment.
I mean, and it's not even like we're calling you out. It's just like we want to have a discussion. This isn't like a, hey, we tell y'all what to do, and then you just say we're right or wrong. It's just like, no. Like, this is our interpretation. You've killed it scouting over the last 5 or so years that we've done this. Second year being on camera to where we can bring back the tape.
Yeah, you see that
when we do. But yeah, I mean we do a really good job doing this. leads the way doing the scouting department for GTD. So yeah, it's a whole lot of fun. Check out every single position group. This is the last one that we've done. Going forward, there's not much left to react to other than speculation.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
got less than 28 days left till the draft. We'll be doing a live stream draft night for the Thursday night first round, and that'll be a whole lot of fun. But yeah, everything leading up to that point, it's just like reacting to, putting our takes on things, and doing a little bit of spins and twists where we can.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that we will do in the meantime between then and now, we're going to be doing a mock the mock for these big guys. Everybody loves Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper. We'll probably try to do one of theirs. We're going to be doing a what would we do draft. We're going to be trying to do some short videos where we talk about all ceiling teams, all floor teams, best picks for each division, AFC and NFC for every team. I don't know. Oh, the big board. The last time we will actually rank these prospects will be on that big board. So that'll happen. So a lot of stuff is still coming out, but we just won't be moving as many things around as we have in the most recent weeks, basically, since the combine, I guess.
Yeah, but a lot that we've covered, a lot more to come. Until then, we will see you guys next time.
Later, guys.